we're going to do Look Mom, no documents. Resolving your tax debt with one phone call. And this is meant not only to cover a topic that everybody should be familiar with, but to actually update you on a recent change that's very critical to those of us who actually do representation work. Again, if you're new to the podcast, I'm Eric Green. I am a partner with the Tax Boutique of Green and Sklarz. The focus of my practice is civil and criminal taxpayer representation. What else you'd like to know about me? I am a columnist for the Journal of Tax Practice and Procedure. I am a former chair of the Connecticut Tax Bar. I am a fellow of the American College of Tax Counsel. I am the author of the Accountant's Guide to IRS Collection. And I'm the guy, if you took that CCH training program, who you saw for 20 hours on IRS representation. But mostly I have, what I do a lot of aside from my own practice is I coach accountants and other lawyers to build up their tax resolution practice. And I have TAXREPLLC for that. This is the Tax Rep podcast, where I try to, at least weekly, give you updates on what is going on and sort of what is happening in the world of tax resolution. Now, this is a statistic for those of you who've been on the podcast, and I'm also videoing this, so you can see the video actually out in YouTube if you'd like. But what I have up there for those of you watching the video are the collection statistics. And for those of you who are listening to this in iTunes, there are more than 14 million taxpayer accounts in the collection division inventory right now. Okay, the number just continues to grow and grow, which is why tax resolution is the hottest growth area in tax right now, bar none. So this is going to be a fairly quick podcast, but there's been a change. Now, for those of you who do this work, this will ring a bell, but for those of you who are new to this, one of the options for resolving an outstanding tax debt is something called a streamlined installment agreement. Okay, and what a streamlined installment agreement is, it's where you can go to the government, and instead of filling in a 433, which is a collection information statement, and providing all kinds of documentation about your income, expenses, your assets, you simply pick up the phone and make a call. Okay, now the rules were, if you owed $50,000 or less and could full pay that over 72 months or less, you didn't have to do anything else. You didn't have to hire Eric Green. You didn't have to do the 433. You didn't have to send in your bank statements, your wages, your profit and loss, your IRA accounts, the value, the equity in your house, none of that. You simply made a phone call and you were done. Very simple, very helpful. And of course, one of the strategies was, if you owe more than $50,000, could you possibly pay down to get below $50,000? So if a client came in and said, you know, I owe $54,000 to the government, well, can we come up with $4,500? Let's pay down below $49,000 and set up a streamlined agreement right over the phone. You just saved yourself thousands of dollars from hiring us. Okay. Well, this has been a huge help. Well, recently, over the summer, the IRS began, actually it was the spring, started a pilot program that they ran through September 26th of 17. Now, if you're very smart, you're listening to this after September 26th, 17. The reason for that is I'm recording it after September 26th of 2017. And the reason is, so the program ended supposedly September 26th. What the program did is it increased the streamlined installment agreement amount from $50,000 to $100,000, and instead of 72 months, allowed you to full pay over 84 months. So if you owed $100,000 or less and could full pay over 84 months or less, same thing, no hiring of lawyers or CPAs or EAs. You simply picked up the phone or even go online through irs.gov and set up your payment plan, and you're all done. Extremely helpful, and I'm more than happy to bash the government when I think it needs it. This is one of the greatest programs that they've done. And as September 26th approached, I began getting worried that this was going to end. So I contacted my friend Darren Guillot. Darren, as many of you know, has been on Tax Talk Radio with us. He comes to the Foxwoods Conference in November every year, the New England IRS Representation Conference. He is the Director of Field Collections for the IRS. He is also extraordinarily brilliant, okay? And I emailed with Darren, who got back to me quickly, confirming that the program has been a tremendous success, even from the government standards, and they would be extending it through 2018. So this program is going to continue. All right, so for those of you who are doing resolution work, you need to know this program is going to continue, and it's really helpful when clients come in and they owe less than $100,000. If they can full pay over 84 months, you can sit there with the client, pick up the phone, call automated collections, or if there's a revenue officer involved, contact the revenue officer and just set up the agreement. You can even go in online with them. They'll need information to confirm their identity. You know, when you go to log in, you can't just say I'm Jason Smith and begin immediately pretending you're Jason Smith. You need to have information that only Jason Smith has, including access to their cell phone number, because they'll get a text message, their last 2 years of filed tax returns. I mean, you need information. But you can really just go online, do it, and be done. Very, very helpful. Because for those of you who don't do a lot of this, the normal routine would be let's do a form 433A. That is the collection information statement for individuals. And by the way, this program is for individuals, not businesses. So we're talking about 1040 debt or an individual who's been deemed responsible for unpaid payroll taxes, called the trust fund recovery penalty. Right? A business that owes payroll taxes would not be eligible for this program. There is a streamlined program for businesses, but it's not nearly as good. It's if the business owes $25,000 or less and can full pay over 24 months, it can just do a streamlined agreement. But for individuals, $100,000 over 84 months is extremely helpful. So again, go online, make a phone call. You're going to call automated collection. That is 1-800-829-3903. All right, 1-800-829-3903. That is the automated collection services line. Simply pick up the phone, call with your client, or if you have a power of attorney, you know, make sure they confirm that you have POA, power of attorney. You can talk to them. And then it's merely saying my client would like to set up a streamlined installment agreement. They will calculate what the minimum is. They will come back online and say, all right, Mr. Green, your client would have to make payments of, I don't know, I'm making up $525 a month. Is that acceptable? Yes, ma'am, it is. Okay, we will go ahead and set that up. Their first payment, it's already October, will be due by November. In November, what date would they like to pay on? And you give a due date. I always pick the 28th, which is the last day of the month that you can choose. Because of February, you can't have any date later than that because it wouldn't work in the month of February. So the 28th is the last day of the month you can select. I always pick the 28th. And I always ask them to send paperwork so we can set it up automatic, draft. So the client doesn't, blow the deadline or mail the check a day or two late and end up defaulting on their agreement. Let the government just go in on the 28th and take the money, right? But you call up, you set it up, and that's it. Kaput. So remember, if you are even over 100, you can actually make a payment, get below 100, and then set up the streamline. Now, for those of you who are sitting here listening to this saying, Eric, that sounds great, yet my client can't afford that. $100,000, Eric, you do $100,000, divided by 84 months, my client doesn't have, $1,200 or whatever that comes to. Well, you can still set up an agreement, but you're going to kind of have to do it, quote unquote, the old-fashioned way. You're going to have to do a 433, provide the financials, and make a proposal. And your client may be uncollectible. You may be able to get into a lower payment plan. But, just keep in mind that the streamlined agreement is there. All right? For those clients who can pay it, it's a very simple way, and it saves a lot of professional fees. If not, we can still do the job that we're here to do. If the client wants to pursue an offer, you can still do that. I'm just reminding you that this option is out there, and very often what I will do, the client will come in and say, look, I want to do an offer in compromise. and we look at it, and if we need time to do some planning, I've talked about offers in other podcasts and programs, so I'm not going to go too much into that now. But if we need time, right, to get our clients sort of situated in the best position possible to capitalize on the offer program, but the government is breathing down their neck now, why not set up the streamlined agreement now, right? That'll hold the government off. We can make a few payments. Meanwhile, we can be, maneuvering the client into a position so we can file that offer. Right? So keep this in mind. It's an extremely helpful program, and I'm very happy they're going to be extending it out to the end of 2018. Again, if you have any questions, you can email me, egreen@gs-lawfirm.com, or give me a call. The number here for the firm, 203-285-8545. And if you're interested, you can go out and grab the Accountant's Guide to IRS Collection. That's available at tgpublish.com. Anyone interested in the Tax Rep LLC, joining as a member, we're always happy to have new members join us and get coaching and share their information back and forth. That is at taxrepllc.com. You want to come to the conference, meet Darren and some of the other IRS folks and speakers, and have what I think is a very fun day. All right? It's irsrepconference.com. It's the New England IRS Representation Conference. It will be at Foxwoods this year, Friday, November 17th. And of course, keep checking back on the iTunes podcast for my weekly updates. All right. Thank you all very much, and I'll talk to you next week.